Together, as they remained linked, her with her back to Vulcan, him facing the dark god who had ruined and reigned over Morningstar's life for far too long, they'd guided their energies outward. Fire, air, water, earth, and the cosmos ran through their veins. In their blood, the elements were as present as iron and hemoglobin. Morningstar wasn't ashamed to admit that he allowed Serafina to take charge. In this, she was definitely the star of the show, and he knew she'd been touched by the mother. Though it had been too long since he'd felt her touch, he recognized it, and even by proxy, basked in it like a man who'd crossed the Antarctic and experienced the kiss of the sun in his bones for the first time in too long. Terra had guided Serafina, whether knowingly or unknowingly, and together they nourished the tree of life with their union. He could feel the drain on his system. Knew Serafina was fatigued too, but her purpose was resolute, and even if Morningstar wanted to pull away, he couldn't. Serafina wouldn't let him. Even as the thought amused him, pride for her overtook his humor. This young chit was more than his match. On a small Tasmanian islet, she'd called to him. The elemental being she was urged him to seek her out. Like a magnet, he'd had no choice but to find her, to be with her on an island he'd never have sensed without her energy there to guide him. And now he was here, that same magnet pulled at him. He needed to be close, and she needed to work her magic on the tree of life. Even as he'd flown toward the island, he'd known what it contained, and he'd learned that not all was as it seemed among his legios. His forces had informed him of the devastation to the Earth's resources that occurred thanks to the eradication of all serpents. Ecosystems weren't just down for the count, they were completely obliterated. The minute he'd heard news of this, news that had been imparted a week earlier when he'd learned of Serafina's birth, he'd also come to learn that he had a traitor in his midst. And as he approached the islet, he scented him. Losaya. A friend for millennia, and a foe for only the gods knew how long. The knowledge that he'd been betrayed was something that made his meeting with Serafina bittersweet, but it turbocharged his need to feed the tree, to make it grow, to bring balance to this broken realm. Why? Because he wanted it to be pure for his fated. Serafina deserved the best. She would be queen of Hedon, and he saw no reason not to gift her this realm, too. He wanted her to be queen of all she surveyed, and where this plane was concerned, currently, that wasn't offering much. And so, it was for her that he tried to save this puny planet. For her that he tried to save her parents' people. For even as he raged inwardly at the soul-deep betrayal of a man who had once been a lover, for the sins that had been committed against him, she was all he truly saw, all he truly wanted. When the snakes began to writhe and hiss, seeming to break free of a deep sleep rather than death, he knew their combined powers had reaped this particular magic. When the scent of earth swirled around them, even above that of Vulcan's flame, he knew the tree was growing once more. But success didn't taste sweet. It tasted bitter. When Serra's Euro father corralled and imprisoned Vulcan, when the gods, his sires who he'd not seen for eons, appeared and took the fire god away, he barely noticed it as he funneled his strength into her, allowing his fated to channel their elements into the tree. But when he scented it was fully reborn, he turned his gaze and his focus to her. Her majesty, her beauty confounded him. He wanted her, coveted her even as he knew he couldn't have her. She was far too young, a true innocent. But as he accepted that, her hands slipped from his grasp. His heavy eyelids